today we've got three great topics that we ran through the nation's top producers all over the country. And they are, first of all, standard operating procedures and do's and don'ts of email marketing, how to make the most of your email list. The next one is preparing and planning for that listing appointment that you just landed, right? So let's look into the steps, the logistics, and things that you're doing to get prepared for that listing appointment. And finally, how are we going to build up your reviews? Let's build up that review list in Zillow and make sure that it's not just in Zillow, that it's in all the different portals. And we're going to talk about that as well. What's happening? I'm JC Agajanian, broker associate with the Whistle Realty Group, and today we are bringing you the recap from the Monday Morning Mastermind put on by the Fast Forward Network, just like we do every week. So let's get straight into the first one, email marketing. Before we dive into the actual do's and don'ts, the logistics, mechanics, subject lines, there's so much on this subject that we could get into. But let's first talk about mindset. A lot of people are overly concerned about spamming people, not wanting to be a bother, and just coming off bad in their email marketing. And so the general mindset that we want to talk about is that spam is kind of, it's maybe not the official definition, but it's considered junk that does not have value that comes consistently in your inbox, right? So let's just think about that and be focused on adding value with every message we send out of our email marketing campaign. Like, that's very simple. And if you are truly offering value, you can be sending out email every single day, like some real estate coaches do, like some success coaches do, and people will read it. People will opt in. And the people that don't will opt out, and you're just cleaning up your list, really. So just get your head around that, first of all, that there should be a high frequency of send rates. Nobody's telling you need to send email every single day. But when there is ample supply of value, there is no issue with regularly sending out lots of email. So whatever cadence you have planned on doing, as long as you're putting a little bit of thought and effort into it, and you're not just grabbing some sort of template with some baking recipes, right? Like we've seen just for decade upon decade. As long as you're doing something with thought, maybe that's pertinent time-wise or pertinent to the specific type of client that you're speaking to, don't worry about being considered a spammer, okay? Right, so that's mindset, first of all. Let's get over that and move forward. Okay, content ideas. There's a couple people that spoke up and chatted about this. One of them had a pretty great idea of having a simple 4 primary campaign system that goes out with, on a weekly basis, so covering each month. So you've got a market update. You're talking inventory, pendings, closing ratios, just educating your local clientele or prospective clientele on what's going on. Second week, talk about some sort of, challenges. It doesn't have to all be rosy and sunshine and rainbows all the time, right? Talk about some things that you've encountered recently that are real, either that you yourself have encountered or that maybe somebody in your office has encountered. And then more importantly, how you overcome that. And if you didn't do it yourself, the steps to overcome that. So you can kind of take it as your own, but still educate and take advantage of it. So that was a great idea. The third week, property spotlights are a great idea to be talking about, best deals of the month or most impressive properties or whatever you want to do. Property spotlights are a great idea. And then fourth week, community events, making sure people know what's going on in the neighborhood, adding value again, because people, especially with any sort of age, school-age kids, they're looking for things to do, and they're filling their weekends. And if it's something where they're going to run into other people from school or from the club or whatever it is that they're doing, that's going to be a beneficial thing to them. So community events, other ideas that we're throwing out there, anything really seasonal. is a good idea. One woman actually mentioned she does a restaurant of the month, either in a review or just, kind of an overview, a description talking about it and why that's her favorite pick for the month or something like that. I mean, you can build something to this degree around it. So anything that, speaks to people, she said that it's actually struck a chord and she has people going, oh, I like that place you chose last month, but you should have chose this one for that category of food because it's better or whatever the case. Whenever you're getting engagement like that, you're onto something. So those are some general content ideas. Now, content style, I guess this is like how are you presenting the information, right? So email has just become a mess for so many people. People are inundated with email. So, the idea is to figure out how to cut through the clutter and get attention. So first of all, we have to think about how people first look at emails. Most of the time, it's going to be on their phone where they'll see a subject line and possibly the first few words of that email. So let's keep that in mind and just start in the subject line. Start saying something, make a dot, 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 or an ellipsis, as we say, and then start straight away to finish that sentence in the first line of the actual content of the email. This is a great way to break things up. Most people don't write email this way, but all the information's there. And if you're doing what you ought to, which is to get attention and to provide value, that first line should help them to see, oh, maybe I should continue reading. And then you open it up and, they keep going. Like you've already started the thought in that subject line. If your email provider, and we'll talk about email providers in a moment, but if your email provider has the unsubscribe button up top instead of buried down at the bottom, you might want to do something about that because lots of people don't even keep reading. They're just going to see an unsubscribe and click it and then move forward. So keep that in mind. Keep the text as plain as possible. Think it through, create email that will really only be open by people that are interested in real estate, and then only provide links and videos that are interested in people who are, or who would be interesting to people interested in real estate, and they would click on it. And so, if you're maybe not on a big team, you're kind of doing your own thing, this is a great way to create your call list for the day or the week or whatever that is. Like, who is most engaged in actually reading my stuff? Those are the people, excluding grandma and mom and dad and, whatever that may be. The people that you don't know, the people that are actually reading it, those are your calls for the day, and you can move forward. When you're thinking about that subject line or the beginning line that's maybe cut in half of your whole email, ask yourself, is this going to create curiosity? Like I said before, use that half sentence, use an ellipsis, keep it moving, and then share whatever it is that you're doing. You always just want to be as efficient as possible. And what you can do by that is if you're creating video that's embedded in your email, share it on all your socials. If you're sharing it on all your socials, there's some tips. First of all, make sure you upload those video clips directly to the platform that you're using. Unless it's really long and really heavy, gigabyte wise, you're not going to want to just link a YouTube clip to Facebook or Instagram or Snap or whatever the heck you want to use on TikTok, whatever. Upload it straight into the platform that you're using. And then we know for sure that Facebook and Instagram, they like their walled garden, right? And so they don't want to send people outside of their website. And then since you've made this email with this video clip and now you're sharing it to your socials, take the content as well. Take the transcript of the content and put that in the post as well. So you can read it or you can watch it. That's always a huge tip at all times. Another bit of logistics as far as email marketing goes is to make sure that you're using some sort of email provider or email database provider, not Gmail or Yahoo, but you're using, for example, MailChimp or Emma or Sendinblue or Constant Contact or any of the things. There's tons of them out there. Find one you like, Find one that's affordable. Find one that'll suit your needs with the size of your database and the frequency with which you're going to be sending out emails, and use that. Do not just send your emails out through your CRM. So the reason for this is because when you get unsubscribes, not if, because it will happen and you need to not let that bother you. When you get unsubscribes, you want to keep that relegated to the email provider, not to your CRM. Because if you're sending, for example, a quarterly invitation to an event that you're doing, or if they haven't bought yet and they're not a past client and they're looking at property alerts, or if you just need to be able to stay in touch with them through your CRM and you blast out your entire database with your email marketing and they unsubscribe, you're not going to be able to communicate with them for any other reason either, not just because of your email marketing, but for those other reasons and other examples that I didn't mention just now. So make sure you're not sending out your email marketing through your CRM. We've used MailChimp for a long time in my office. I'm currently using Sendinblue. I know that Danbury loves Emma. I think Kyle's using MailChimp. Infusionsoft is an entire, CRM plus email database center incorporated, and so much more that often people use. But if you use one of these third parties, they're going to have better deliverability for the first thing. They're going to be able to get past the spam blockers and get to inboxes, because that's their job. They're there to deliver email for you. So you're going to have better deliverability. You're also going to have better analytics, better information coming back to you from the lists and the types of campaigns that you're sending out. So it's a better choice all the way around. Costs a little bit more, but it's not that expensive and definitely worth doing. Another tip as far as logistics go on this subject is to not use your primary email as the sending email, regardless of whether it's going from your CRM or your third-party mail client, which is definitely the way you should go. Use something that looks the same. Maybe use something that can be routed back to your primary email, but is not the same. Use a .net or a .org or something with your same exact email and domain name, or maybe add a word to your email or something like that. But you don't want any issues coming up with your primary email. And whenever you're doing any sort of meaningful email marketing, depending on how you do it, there's a chance mistakes can be made and you could get flagged and your email will be dead. And that's the last thing we need, right? Regular communication for transactions that you're taking place in and everything are shut down because of your email marketing campaign. So definitely do not do that either. And finally, this should really go without saying, but use a proprietary customized domain name for your email address. Don't work in the real estate business and have a Gmail or a Yahoo, or worse yet, some other antiquated free email account. Even if it says Realtor Guy JC, but it says at Gmail at the end, I'm going to know that person is probably less experienced than I'd like them to be. So if I'm thinking that way and most people are thinking that way, you should consider that. Make sure you get. It's very easy to get a private domain and to have email. I've got that for a few different sites, and they all act just like Gmail. They're actually supported by Gmail. It's super easy. There's nothing different in me actually using them. It just looks different when it goes out, and it looks professional. So keep that in mind. We're going to move on from email, though, and we're going to move on to the pre-listing process. You've got that killer listing appointment, and you're getting ready for it, and you want to make sure that nothing goes wrong and that you are stacking the deck as much as possible in your favor so that you can have success when you get out there. So first things first, we're talking about pre-selling. There's been lots of ideas about stuff to send sellers before you show up at the appointment. I first learned about this, years ago, maybe a decade ago, in a coaching program. They called it a bomb, where you would just drop a bomb on someone, and it was a small box, but it had tons of information, all the stuff about you, all the stuff about your marketing, all the stuff about the neighborhood, all this type of information. So that it was like a knowledge bomb that they had sitting there on their front, and it was like big and stuff, and it was kind of intentional that way. That's a little bit old school at this point. Some people are definitely still dropping either massive folders or a box full of stuff on people's doors, but in our office, we're definitely moving towards a more digital approach. So the general consensus is to really be sending things out ahead of time that are going to be providing social credit, opening up and being transparent with how you do things. But overwhelmingly something review based, and maybe some sort of proof about work you've done in the past, right? Just showing that you are a professional, that you've got a lot of experience, that people besides yourself say so, and that you're going to be in good hands working with you, right? So we like to use High Note for that purpose and send a bunch of information. We can send video about ourselves. We can send PDFs. We can send links. We can send all kinds of things in a nice, neat package that looks like a little customized website for them. Marketing examples, past sales, reviews, all this stuff can go out through a High Note presentation. Including that video clip that you're going to send out. Now, maybe you make it shorter. This is something like Bomb possibly that you just text over real quickly. And that's going to be shorter, almost as short as a YouTube short or a TikTok or something like this, where you're just saying, hey, this is who I am. I'm looking forward to meeting you. I'm doing some preparation. Can't wait for it. Whatever the case may be, just a quick thing so they can see who you are. Put a face to the name ahead of time. A High Note with as much information as you'd like to share, a short video clip are some of the basics that we want to make sure go out before a listing appointment. What you don't want to do, don't send them pricing related information. Don't give them comps. Don't send them a complete CMA. Don't go over your fees. Don't go over numbers. Don't even do this right when you walk in the door. A great talk track that Dan actually mentioned was to go through this. Hey, welcome. Yeah, let me have a quick tour. Show me around. Do you have any, questions off the top of your head? When they ask you, not if, when they ask you about your fees or about your value, say, of course, those are some of the top things that we're going to talk about. I've already got some work prepared, actually a report talking about value alone. That may be some of the things we spend the most time on. I was talking about anything that maybe I didn't come prepared to talk about. So you're punting that to the end of the meeting. You want to have the opportunity to present value ahead of time. You want to make sure they've seen your presentation. They know what is separating you out from the average agent that's going to go in there with a cell phone and take photos, throw it on the MLS and hope that some other agent sells it for them, right? So we are not that person, and we want to make sure we've demonstrated that, and there's thorough understanding of what makes us different, and then we will talk about those things after the fact. But definitely not in the pre-selling, pre-listing information, and definitely not when you first walk in the door. If you, can get into the habit, you can create a nice list. Something that I have done off and on, I can't say I've done with consistency, but another top agent, actually from here in San Diego, spoke up and said he does a thorough pre-listing qualifying and clarifying question interview, basically, over the phone. And he's really not going to get up out of his chair and leave his office and go to a listing appointment unless he's got all the information that he wants to know well documented so that he's prepped and really ready to go into this meeting. And he's going to customize it. He's not going to go with the same listing presentation that he does every time. He's going to curate that presentation directly to what he learned in that pre-listing interview, and he's hopefully going to know what they want for price, what they're accustomed to for fees, if they're bought and sold before, what kind of pricing strategy they like. He wants to know if there is competition on the other agents that are going to have meetings with him, with these sellers. If there is competition, who are those agents? He wants to have every bit of information that he can so that when he goes into this meeting, he's ready to kill it. And it's frankly a great idea. I've only dabbled with this. We do have a pre-listing questionnaire that we go through, but I've never done anything as exhaustive and intentional. And he mentioned, listen, you're going to need to use your experience scripting and general understanding of the process to get over objections, because people are not necessarily always going to want to answer these questions over the phone before a meeting, especially what they're comfortable selling for and what they're comfortable paying for fees. But he says he gets past that. He didn't elaborate. And he moves forward and he gets all the information he needs before going out on that presentation. Now, there was the overwhelming consensus to the group. Again, these are people all over the country doing huge numbers, many leading teams. But most of them agreed, yeah, we're not giving any information that's going to talk about our numbers or the home or anything like that up front. Now, there was one dissenter. Once a guy said, you know what, I respect you guys, but we actually do things a little differently. We call it a seller guide, not a listing presentation. We've got it full of information and we pack it up and send it ahead of time. We're going to have some general comps. We're not going to tell them these are the perfect ones for their property, but we're going to give them some general market information and, help take their temperature on if they like them or if they don't, but they're giving a lot of information up front and then using that as a response when they meet up to see what they think and then adjust on the fly. It's a different approach. They really like it because most of what they have to present has been sent over already. And so assuming that these people have actually read through it, you're going to have mostly summarization questions on your presentation instead of delivering that information for the first time. So different approach, definitely different than the overwhelming majority, but worth noting in there as well. Even if you don't have an exhaustive pre-listing interview like some people do, or regardless of how you're going to go about it, a huge thing that you should ask for any meeting is, what is the most important thing to you about the agent you choose to represent you? It's a silver bullet, because if you can get that information, even if you don't have all the information in that pre-listing interview, but if you can get that information, you can custom tailor your listing presentation to the things and your experience that speaks to that most importantly, and then go from there. And it will still give you the leg up and give you a better chance at speaking their language as opposed to shooting a bunch of information at them that they may or may not care about. So we will wrap that subject there and move on to reviews. Are you a 5-star Zillow agent? Well, you can be. It's not that hard, actually. It's not that hard to get tens and in some cases hundreds of reviews on your profile over time. So one of the things I do, especially with my buyer consultations, is that I set the tone. We have something we call a love it or leave it guarantee. And basically we make a promise in writing that if a buyer has buyer's remorse inside a 12-month period after closing escrow, and it's not, a job relocation or it's not some divorce, but they truly feel like they made a mistake in their purchase and that we allowed them to go down the wrong road, no questions asked, hey, we'll waive our fee. We'll sell that thing for free. We'll get you into the right property, right? So I explain that to them, and I explain that the reason we do that is because we were already thinking, how do we make sure that we take care of our clients the best we can? Of course, we want you to be so happy with the work that we do that you're going to tell your friends and family, there's no one else to talk to. Just call JC. He'll take care of you, whatever your scenario is. That's the thing. So we put our money where our mouth is, and we came up with this love it or leave it guarantee. So that's how I explain the guarantee, right? So I'm planting the seed of that referral, tell your friends and family up front before we've even done any business, before they've even committed to working with me. I'm telling them that that's what they ought to be thinking about doing, right? So before we even get to logistics and tools and mechanisms of how to get reviews, think mindset. Think about how you want your clients to be thinking of you, and tell them it from the day one, first initial consult, and then going forward. As far as the way that we ask for reviews in our office, we definitely wait till a significant timeline, like a contingency removal date or something like that, in the middle of our escrow process, and we begin there. Um, and then we ask again at closing, and then we ask again post closing, right? So um, we have easy links and brief explanations of how to do things, and we just ask people to help us out with a review. And another side note, make sure to say 5-star when you are asking for reviews, because you want to imply that you're looking for a great review, not just a mediocre one. And so, yeah, make sure, in some cases, something I haven't done yet, but we may consider incorporating is switching up that post closing review request to a text message instead of an email, and see how that maybe increases the results that we get. But you've got to ask for the reviews. People don't realize how important they are, but if you briefly explain how important they are, how, most people are going to do a quick Google search, if anything, before being willing to pick up the phone or send off an email, it helps them to understand, wow, yeah, I can see where they're coming from. And of course, uh, I would want to share my experience. This guy really took care of me, right? So that's pretty much it. If you do happen to do any sort of quarterly, semi-annual, annual event to give back and to give thanks to your sphere and your past clients for all the work that you've done that year and in the past, this is a great way to incorporate a review request. You have the people that are checking them in say, hey, welcome. Obviously it's a free event. They're going to have free food or free drinks or whatever they're going to have. And say, by the way, you can say, hey, if you'd like to get a raffle ticket, we're going to be giving away X, Y, and Z. And all it takes is for you to take a moment and click this link here and fill out a review. Which agent took care of you? Boom, boom, boom. Review. Show it to them right there. Here you go. And now you get a prize or something like that, or an opportunity to win a prize. So there's a couple tools that we learned about as well this morning in the mastermind. One of them, dubb.com, dubb.com. Rate My Agent is another option. I haven't used either one of those, but they came pretty highly recommended. So I'm going to go with that because this mastermind is full of killers. So yeah. And then, follow through on the thought process of this whole thing. Depending on how you're going about asking for this review, if it's just Zillow or if it's just Google My Business or if it's just Yelp, whatever it is, either right then and there, ask them to copy and paste to other platforms, or follow up down the road and say, hey, any chance you mind copying and pasting that awesome review that you made for me to these other 3 or 4 links that I've got here? It'd really do me a solid if you can. By the way, I've already got I've got a $10 Starbucks card out in the mail for you. I really appreciate you doing this. Something like that. Now, we happen to have a former Google employee on the mastermind this morning, and he said, be careful, because Google is actually using bots to read your email. Yep, everything that you think is happening is happening. It's freaky. And if a bot reads that you are overwhelmingly incentivizing, like maybe you've got a campaign going out where you're saying, hey, give me a 5-star review and I'll give you this gift card or whatever the case may be, they'll catch on to it. Google will catch on to it, especially if it's a Google My Business review in a Gmail account that's either being used by yourself or the prospect. They will block it, and they could shut down your whole profile. So be careful about that, because they are especially strict about their own platform when it comes to making sure that the reviews are legit. So you're not allowed to provide incentive to complete reviews. Now, on the other hand, if you happen to come across a client of yours that's like really into Yelp or even a power user, maybe do something to encourage them a little more. Maybe spend a little more than you usually would, or really take care of them. Because if somebody is writing reviews all the time and they're highly interactive with the Yelp platform, their reviews are going to get seen a lot more than somebody who's written 3 their whole life because they had, either a fantastic or a terrible experience somewhere, or someone who just signed up for a Yelp um, account to maybe check things for themselves from time to time, but has never written a review and then now did one for you as a favor, right? Like, those reviews are great. They're better than nothing, but it's not the same compared to somebody who's on there all the time and interacting in the other reviewer ecosystem, I guess, is for lack of a better word. So yeah, take care of those people real good, and they'll take care of you. Another idea to get more reviews is to lean on the vendors that you are feeding. If you've got contractors, if you've got appraisers, home inspectors, have these people and the people they know write reviews of you. And of course, you can return the favor, but lean on your sphere, especially your sphere that works with you. They'd be happy to help you out. So if you're just getting started and you're trying to build a head of steam, that's a great way to start. So we're going to wrap it there. That was it. 3 great topics that really hit home. And hopefully you found something that, whether it's a tip in the email marketing or, the great concepts around the interview process, or at least a quick few questions before your listing appointment, or capturing those reviews. More than anything, more than the knowledge and the understanding of how these things work, is the implementation. So I hope you found something you can implement into your business today. And of course, I'm always happy to chat. Just shoot me a DM below, and look forward to talking to you soon. See ya.